Computer. Hey guys, well, welcome to another video, and I have my dear friend Taryn, another lead mentor. And today we're going to actually talk about cold calling, my favorite. So Taryn, I know you've been cold calling for gosh knows how long is an understatement. So what do you think of cold calling? I know you've been pretty successful at it.
Yeah, like everybody, I think I hate it. And there are, at the end of the day, it's a means to an end. And when you really start to get that, when you're reaching out to people, you're there to help them, you know, it makes it so much easier. So it's really like a friend that you haven't met yet. So when you're cold calling, it makes it a little bit easier when you have that right set of mindset versus a lot of people when they pick up the phone, it's like, I don't want to be doing this.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree.
yeah, I don't know about you. Like when I start to cold call, like I'll have a goal for the day of, saying I want to speak to 20 people, for instance, right? And the first one or two are always a battle. It's like, I don't want to do this. What if they hang up on me? What if they don't, they're rude to me and things like that. And I always find that if I create my mind correctly before I pick up that phone and call, and I'm like, look, I'm here to help them, then the people that respond back to me, they're really super nice about it. I very rarely get somebody that's mean or rude on the phone, right? One of the, so I have a couple of tips when it comes to cold calling that makes it a lot easier. The first one is expect no, right? So many people, they call and they expect them to be like, yeah, I wanted to sell my house, right? 99.9% of people are going to say no because A, they don't know you. You're calling out of the blue. They haven't thought about it. And so they're going to say no. So if you're cold calling and you expect them to say no, it won't be the end of the conversation. So now you know it's coming. You're expecting them to say no. And now you can be curious about the no. So a lot of times we'll cold call driving for dollar leads, right? And it'll be like, oh, are you looking to sell your house? No. Okay, I get that. Are you going to do something about the tree growing through the house? Or, I saw some code violations. Were you aware that they were there? It extends the conversation now. And the longer you can talk to somebody on the phone, the more they will like and trust you. So that's your aim when you're cold calling, especially the first one, right? Because it's cold, is to kind of create relatedness, create rapport so that you have the ability to follow up later on down the road.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually step up a little bit backwards for a second. Is what you also want to do is you want to build that list, right? So if you're skip tracing, you want to make sure, because you want to get in that rhythm. So try to have at least 20 to 40 phone numbers. I'm not saying you're going to get through all of them, but if they don't answer, you can't only have 5. Now you're backtracking and you're looking for phone numbers. You want to get into a rhythm, number one. So I think that's important. The other thing I do actually that's also a little bit different is, sometimes the cold calling, you're just like, oh, I'm so scared. All those feelings come in, right? So what I'll do is I'll even look for a couple for sale by owners because they're actually trying to sell a house, just to get into a rhythm and, to ask those questions. So it won't be the hardcore no in the beginning. The other thing I always add, it's no for now. So just because they say no, it doesn't mean it's not, going to happen. Think about how many times, someone's called you and you don't know them. So I know in the first 30 seconds, or not even 30 seconds, probably the first 15 seconds, you want to be able to introduce yourself and who you're with, right? Or do you have an opening line that you like using in general?
Well, yes, I do. And one of the first things that you have to do is expect them to know who you are, right? So many people would be like, hi, is Anish there? Well, 90% of the people that you're calling are on a cell phone. It's a little weird when you're calling my cell phone and you're asking if I'm there, because then who did you think you were calling? So I always assume that I have the person I'm looking for and I let them correct me. Because when you're cold calling, you're gonna hit, the brother, the sister, people that aren't even affiliated with the person that you're looking for, but you always assume that that's the person that you're talking to. And you're going to say like, hey, Anish, really warmly. Right. And like you say, you've got about 10 seconds. So it depends what lead it's that you're calling. I tend to, and I actually got this from you, Anish, is I'll say something along the lines like, hey, I was driving past your house, dropping my kids off at volleyball, and I saw your place, and I was just curious, were you interested in selling it all? And the reason I do something like that, or I say like I was driving to my mom's house, is because everybody has a mom. So without even trying, you're creating relatedness. Or, if I'm dropping my kids off, someone's creating this thought of me of a mom that cares about her kids. That's not somebody who's trying to sell you anything. That's somebody who cares. So it starts to drop the barrier of their guard, basically, so that they're a little bit more receptive to what you have to say.
Yeah, and I think also what I also like about that is that you're the actual local investor, right? You're not this big, conglomerate. We buy houses like a machine. It's actually you that's actually doing it. One of the things is why you really want to get good at this is as you start growing your business, and you're going to start having teammates or employees making these calls or VAs or whatever you're going to do. You have to learn how to do this first. I know a lot of you guys want to expand your business, and we're going to get you there, but you got to know the pieces of what's happening on the cold call. Again, you want to keep it short on the introduction. Take a deep breath. Make sure, they get to speak a little bit. I know one of the big mistakes I made in the beginning, I was so involved in what I wanted to say, I wasn't listening to them. So you just take a deep breath, and it'll make a big difference for you. Also, I agree with you, like you should be friendly. All right. There's nothing, I know you might have a bad day. You want to let go of all that. When you're actually calling someone, you want to be friendly on that. Any other last couple tips that we got going on?
Yeah, no, like when you talk about being friendly, changing your state really helps. If you're sitting at your desk picking up the phone, it's kind of like jury, put a smile on your face and stand up. It automatically communicates through your voice that you have a little bit more energy, that you're a little bit more warmer, type of thing. So I would definitely do that when you're cold calling. Also know what kind of lead you're calling, so it goes right back into what you're saying, Anish, about, listening to what they're saying, right? If you're asking somebody, for instance, if you're calling pre-foreclosures, if you're going to mention the pre-foreclosure, you probably don't want to mention, are you selling your house? Right? Straight off the bat. So me personally, I don't really like cold calling foreclosures. I prefer door knocking them because of that one-to-one, I can read their facial expressions. But like if you're driving for dollars, you can say, hey, listen, I drove past your place. Now I do eviction leads. I can't say that because sometimes one of those properties is in a quadplex or a condo or something like that, and I don't really know it. Can you imagine if I said, oh, I drove past your property and I want to know if you want to, oh, which unit, So those are the things that I put into place when I cold call, that makes a big difference for me. And then one of the other things that I do is if they do say, well, I would be interested in selling, I ask permission for a certain amount of time. So I'm like, all right, well, that's awesome. Do you have, 3 or 4 minutes so that I can gain some information from you, so that I can prepare an offer? That way, one of the things is when people come on the phone, you're always thinking about how do I get off this phone call, right? Or how long is this going to take? So if you can kind of set that stage, like, look, this is only going to take a couple of minutes. Is this a good time for that? And allow them, you're getting little micro commitments, which really makes a difference down the road, right? It's like a sales technique 101 is getting little micro commitments before you're having the big, hey, listen, this is what I'm offering you.
Yeah. And also the other thing is that it might set up an appointment too, right? Hey, they might not have a few minutes. I'm actually going to be in your neighborhood, dropping off my kids tomorrow. Any chance I could come by, look at the house? So there's also, other things that it leads to. The good thing about, cold calling also is you could hit a lot more numbers, right? Versus driving for dollars, door knocking. So you kind of need the mix and match, right? So like, if you work full time, maybe you could only hit 1 or 2 doors a night or a week, or maybe 5 a week. You could bang out in 2 or 3 hours easily 20 to 30 or 40 phone calls. So I think that's always important. Some of the other tips that we've used also, if you can, you should record yourself to see what you sound like. You'll be surprised what you say. I know I am sometimes. So, did I really say that? How did that happen?
Yeah, no, I always record my phone calls, and you want to get in a habit of that because you talked about like scaling your team, right? So you want to be able to listen to your teammates once you hire a VA or something like that, so that you can hear where the breakdown's happening on the call and you can kind of train them inside of that. But if you've never done cold calling and you've never recorded yourself doing it, you really can't train somebody else on being effective at that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. So thanks, Taryn, for some quick, tips on cold calling. We do have some materials about, scripts, but we just wanted to kind of chat today about, the benefits of cold calling. It's a very important part of your business. It's essential. It's not a big deal, meaning they're not going to see what you look like, right? So don't be afraid. You can't really make any mistakes on it, if that makes sense. The only mistake I would say is not trying. Just like everything else, you heard both of us talk about we weren't fond of cold calling in the beginning. Now it's not a big deal for us. So again, thanks for watching this video. And our job is to make real estate investing simple again. So see you soon.